what are the props in the scene. But it also includes other things like what the characters look like, their costumes, how their hair is, maybe makeup, maybe, I guess that's it. I was trying to think of the other thing that, they might wear glasses when they don't, because of the character or something like that. All right, got it. All right. Also, just how they act, right? Not just how they look, but how they look in the way that they're acting and they're holding themselves and they're positioned, right? Of course, lighting and color are definitely huge elements of mise-en-scene. Sorry, that should be not there. And then again, like I said, the positioning of characters and or objects in the frame and the relationships between those things. So each aspect, I keep seeing it miss and then mise, I don't know. I borrowed this and kind of added to it. So each aspect of mise-en-scene has hidden meanings within a film and sends signals to the audience about how we are supposed to feel at a certain point. So there's so in some ways it's manipulation, but why would they want to manipulate us during a film? Anybody have any idea?
It might kind of help when you're trying to tell a story and you want the audience to feel a certain way.
Yeah, it helps the viewer be more in the moment, really, of the scene, of whatever they're watching. And if you guys remember in 315, one of the things I always said was, you want to try not to disrupt a viewer's sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? Their sense of being in the scene. You don't want to do anything that makes them, you want them to be enraptured, and paying attention, and you don't want to do anything that will break that concentration. But you do want to do things that kind of add to that, like add to the story, brings them in further into the story, makes them more invested. The other night I was watching 21 Bridges with Chad Boswick. And I wasn't going to watch it all the way through. I watched part of it with my husband, and then he went to bed, and I wasn't going to watch it. And I started recording it, and then I just kept watching it because it just, to me, that's what it did, man. I was like, what the hell's going on? It was one of those, I don't know if you guys seen it, but sorry, I'm French there. It's not French. I don't know why we say that. That's stupid. But anyway, I was trying to, I don't know if you've seen it. I'm not going to do a spoiler. I always get yelled at because I spoil things for everybody, but it's really confusing a little bit, but not in a bad way. It's like you really are trying to figure out all these kind of weird things are happening, and you're like trying to connect the dots. And I watched the whole movie. I didn't tell my husband though. I'll just act like I didn't see it. Okay, so that's what you want to do. That's what these things are doing. All right, so let's talk about them a little bit more. So settings and props play an important part of film or video production, and they're not just there so that there's something in the background. They have meaning, they have purpose. Sets are really either built from scratch or they find a location. I am always fascinated. I always watch stuff and I'm like, is that in a soundstage or is that an actual location? I'm always looking for ceilings. I always look for ceilings, but even that, I've seen sets, like whole houses built in. Yeah.
That was all done in a soundstage.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. The things that they are able to accomplish in a soundstage is amazing, but there's some things that it's obviously, I don't know. Some of the stuff they do, the money they spend on sets is just amazing. But anyway, it's really important, right? And it has to be right. It has to be appropriate for whatever place it's supposed to be in the time. It might be in another universe. We don't even know, those backgrounds are important, those sets and the location. And this is settings to manipulate an audience by building a certain expectation or expectations, and then going somewhere else. So something might start with a very happy, friendly sort of setting, and then it takes a dark turn, you know? Okay. So let's talk about this. What kind of settings or props would you find in like a science fiction film? Anyone?
Like different color. Wait, what settings and props? Okay. A lot of metal
Setting?
usually. Yeah.
Like your background is a great setting for a science fiction,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going, Deja.
Yeah, I was gonna say like metal panels, a lot of different colored lights, like tiny little LEDs. I'm thinking kind of like Starship Enterprise type deal. A lot of depending on, I guess, the sci-fi scene, it would be like either very geometrical, like seating, or very organic, depending on like if it's an alien or
Right. Sorry.
or
My mouth.
human industrial kind of thing.
Yeah. So other people said technology, computers, panels on the walls, sci-fi weapons, tech screens, lots of blue and green.
Robots.
It could also be science fiction if you think of like Blade Runner, right? It can also be really dark and dingy, and so it really depends on what the meaning is, right? What the setting is and what it's supposed to look like. How about a romantic comedy? What kind of settings are there typically in a romantic? Huh?
Europe.
Europe.
Like old buildings and
Cafes.
Flowers, a lot of flowers, just plants.
Yeah, happy stuff. Not always, but yeah. And then a horror film.
it could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere. I always think of The Shining. Like I think of that hotel, which is actually a real hotel. If you don't already know that, you probably do. You know. I'm sorry.
More than half of horror films is always have like some kind of like building.
Yeah. There's always a lot of them are like based or sort of like
Empty spaces.
yeah, like in really tight spaces, specific. Like you think of what's the one Safe Room, the Jodie Foster movie. Like, oh, you guys are probably too young for it. I don't know. I don't think it's that old, but yeah, any of those things like someone's in the house or someone invades a house and keeps the family hostage. You know, all happens in the house, right? Or at the carnival, or you know, at the summer camp with Freddie or Jason or whoever goes to summer camp. It's Jason, isn't it?
One of the big elements in horror films is that it's usually isolated, though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to backtrack, but Mikhail has a great comment. When we're talking about romantic comedies, just thinking of the proposal, which they went to, Siktik? What was it? Sitna, Alaska, and they had that, she called it the cringy quilt, and they called it the baby maker. You know, so yeah, that was definitely a huge part of that, you know, and the whole setting of being in Alaska was a part of that. So yeah, so I mean, everything we can think of, this applies to everything, right? And then costume, hair, and makeup. It really just tells us who the person is in many ways. I mean, not always, but mostly. So I just watched The Punisher the other night. I like every movie, so I watch pretty much everything, but I watched The Punisher. And I don't know if you guys seen, it's the original one that came out with Aaron, I can't remember his last name. but it's got Ben Foster in it. Ben, yeah, we should have an internet movie night. I like that. Ben Foster, who has been in a lot of movies and he's played a lot of different roles. Like that's just kind of losery guy, had lip rings and eyebrow ring and multiple earrings, and his hair is disheveled and he's all skinny and scrawny. And he turns out just to be made of gold, right? So that was done on purpose to kind of distract us. Like he looked like, oh, this guy's such a loser, but he just had some, life had led him that way, but he was still a good guy. So it was interesting. But at first, that's how you judge it, right? And that's a lot of films are that way. A lot of rom-coms are that way. Like, famous one, and you guys probably never watch it, but you've got Mail with Tom Hanks and my brain. You guys know, blonde girl. That's in a bazillion things. Yeah, Meg Ryan, thank you. Michaela, you watch all the same movies as me. Anyway, Tom Hanks was kind of the jerk in the beginning because he's bringing his big, Amazon Barnes and Noble store in and wiping out the little, neighborhood store. That's so old now, but that happens, and that's actually sort of especially in rom-coms, romantic comedies, or even romances, but mostly in rom-coms, that there's a guy who's kind of a jerk who this woman falls in love with. It's basically from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. It's kind of all come down. If you watch almost every romantic comedy, the woman starts hating the man from the site on, and then they end up together. So, okay. Now, it tells us immediately where this film is set also, whether it's in present time or in the past, if it's high society or if it's, in a low economic area. It tells us a lot about what we're seeing. And with this Ben Foster character, you could tell he just didn't have any money at all, very little, and lived in this sort of semi-abandoned apartment building. And I don't know what town it was in, but city. And then, of course, certain costumes can signify a certain individual. Obviously, things like examples here, black cloak of a vampire, it's a vampire. If you see Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man, right? More current, if it's looks like a Wonder Woman, it probably is Wonder Woman, that kind of thing. And then we got facial expressions and body language. And I'm sorry, I just want to check the time. Okay, I'm probably gonna get done way early today. So, facial expressions and body language. So facial expressions, we can tell how someone's feeling, right? Especially if the person's a good actor or actress. A lot from it. So obviously, if someone's smiling, we can say they're happy, but like it says here, if it's a scary movie and maybe they're smiling because they're like scared to death, and that's, some people have weird reactions to it. It's like people who laugh at tragedy. Like my mom used to do that, fall down, she'd laugh. I get sick, she'd laugh. She didn't mean to, it was just a reaction, right? So it's depending on how that expression is presented and what's the setting and what's going on. Like it says here, what you're hearing could change the meaning of it totally. And we're going to look more into that later in the semester with a special assignment I got for you guys. And then also it may show how they feel about another character, or really what's going on between those characters. So here I'm going to show you some images, and I do want you to talk. Oh, I got a segue. Amy talks about, if you want a cheesy Hallmark rom-coms, it's always about the big city girl who comes home to either sell her something or, buy something or whatever, and yeah, falls in love with the, you know, the ranch hand who actually has a PhD or something like that. That happens a lot. Okay, so I'm going to show you these pictures, and I want you to talk about what you think you see in this as far as all these things that we're talking about. Especially emotions. So we're going to talk about emotions here. So what does this say? I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. And why do you say it? What do you guys think?
You can definitely tell that there's kind of like, well, this love there and this passion there, as you can see that, you know, they're kissing, but also it's kind of like a kiss as in like, good luck, go fight out there, because it's
Right.
hero and kind of like the female lead.
Right. Somebody else were going to say something?
Honestly, I said that it looks very moment that he's upside down in the costume.
Right. It's just, yeah, it's just sort of in the moment is what Isaiah said. It's like something that's happening right then, right there. I think something that's like the biggest thing for me in this is her eyes. Her eyes are shut, which, you know, when you're really enraptured, you don't sit there with your eyes open, right? So I see in this passion, right? Passion, love, maybe a little fear, right? Yeah.
I think another part of it is the fact that she doesn't remove his mask all the way, is that she's like she's playing it off as this one-time thing, because she was
Right.
with the other guy in the movie, so it's this whole heat of the moment, one kind of once in a lifetime kind of kiss, and she thinks it'll never happen again.
Right. And I don't remember, because it's been years since I've seen this one. Did she know who he was at this point?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So yeah, that's it. So what Amy says really holds. She didn't try to unmask him. So
The mystery of it all.
it's like mystery, some trust, maybe, right? She's showing some trust. And then Tyler's talking about it's raining. And so what do you guys think about that? Or Michaela too? I think it still sort of speaks to that sort of in the moment, right? It's
Yeah,
not
rain.
some-
Yeah, I was gonna say rain's kind of in the moment, you know, very somber, or can be used somberly,
right.
but it really like brings into kind of a, what's the word? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I lost it. Okay.
I think it plays into the whole kiss in the rain trope. It's supposed to be like, this is the real romantic connection, even though she's with the other guy at this point in the movie. She's like, this is who she really loves. This is the truth in the movie.
It's like she can't help it. Like even though it's not some, you know, they're not in a fancy restaurant, they're not, you know, on a couch somewhere, they're not in a park. It's raining and he just pops in, right? And she kisses him.
Rain
So-
brings forth a lot of emotion.
Yeah, and Alfredo says that rain is vulnerable. So yeah, it's not a perfect situation, but they have to do it, right? So yeah, that's great. Let's talk about another one. All right. I love this movie. It's so creepy. Thank you, Rachel. That's just almost exactly right. So if you guys want to do a scene out of The Shining, we have an actor. Jason did a great job on that. Okay, what do you guys think about this? Let's have some people who haven't talked yet.
Lighting plays into it a lot.
Lighting,
A lot of his face is hidden.
right? So
You see the whites of his eyes, basically.
I'm just repeating what you're saying so they can hear. I don't know if they can hear you, but so Cameron said, you know, the lighting has a lot to do with it because half his face is hidden. What does that say to us that half his face is hidden?
It is an unknown thing, and usually what's unknown is dangerous.
Yeah, that he's unknown, and that might also mean that he's dangerous. What else? Oh, Jordan says that his face is in the middle of this frame. Now, this is not obviously the whole image. This may even be like a promotional photo, but I think that's great that he takes up so much of the frame, is definitely makes it intense. Anne says he looks deranged, so that's his expression. What is it about his expression that looks deranged, Anne? Anne, come on.
He looks really great, the way his eyes look and teeth, and the way he's looking into the like camera.
Right. So it's that weirdness of seeing so much of the whites of his eyes against all the dark, right? It just, and his teeth too, they just pop out. And it almost looks like, you can't tell, but maybe there may be a little, I don't know if that's spit or blood, but either way it looks,
It makes them like glossy and like beastly.
yeah, beastly. That's a great word. And then Tyler talks about the background looking like stormy, it's dark. And it's kind of weird because it's half, I think it's a tree, or, oh, it's probably the maze. Is it the maze? Yeah. So, yeah, all kinds of stuff, right? Oh, Macaulay, that's a great comment. He says, makes it look animalistic. You guys gotta stop using big words that I have to repeat. You're killing me. No, I'm kidding. That he's snarling. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing. And then the fact that, you know, besides his face and you see a little bit of his hand, you don't see a lot of it, right? There's just so much darkness here. So yeah, very dark and sinister. Awesome. All right. So let's talk about positioning of characters and objects within a frame. So the way that things are positioned in a frame can make us look, it's just like in graphic design where you want to put the most important information where bigger and brighter, or position other things that sort of draw the eye to that thing. It's the same way with film. You also can, depending on how people are positioned, their relationship to each other, that can really show, a physical relationship can show their actual relationship, like how they feel about each other. All right, so let's look at some more.
Is this what they call blocking?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, blocking is more, blocking is about where people are, but it's also about where people move to.
Oh, okay.
So it's not only their position, if they're sitting, you don't really have to block that too much, they're sitting, but if they're walking through a scene, maybe two people are talking or they pass each other, or, like I'm watching this really funny show called Offspring on Netflix. It's an Australian funny show, but it's in a hospital, so there's a lot of blocking. You have to have the main people and then the secondary people, and then you have sort of extras. That all requires blocking. All right, so let's talk about these. This is from She's the One. It's an older movie, but it's funnier than crap because of course Vince Vaughn is in it, and even though it's kind of a sad movie. What do you guys think's happening here? If you have or haven't seen this movie,
You can tell that they obviously are either hurt by one another or are angry, or just there's this awkward tension just because they're so divided.
They're both very closed off from each other. Like Jennifer Aniston has her legs crossed and her arms
crossed.
curled over her. She's not like being open and inviting.
yeah, and look at the expression on her face, and then the one on his face.
I think she's mad at him, and he's wondering if it's okay to try to.
Yeah, he's a little less. Will, you're right. It was his fault. So this movie, I'll spoil this one because it's a great movie too. But it's called Season One. Basically, they are. I can't remember if they're married or if they're just a couple. But he's just a jerk. He just wants to. This is a warning to a lot of you guys. He just wants to play video games all day. And he's a slob, and she's probably a little too uptight anyway, but they end up deciding, they live together in this really nice apartment, but they end up deciding they're gonna split up, but he won't leave the apartment. So yeah, they hate each other at this point. Okay, so I like that Fredo talked about, even though we were talking about expressions right now, and which I think Vince Vaughn's expression I think if you just look at their expressions, I think that just tells the story there. Like, she's pissed, and he's like, I think this is actually, I don't know, because there's all this kind of crap. No, he had a party. I think he even had like strippers there, if I remember right. Because she has all these rules about cleaning up, and he obviously didn't. So anyway, I think he's a little scared of her, a little bit away there, you can see. And Fredo was talking about the background, so it does have some, if you look, he's sort of got this orangey red shirt and this color, and then she's got the more feminine over here, and it's just and the couch being divided, everything sort of is split into two different like worlds even, really. Yeah, very good. Okay, let's do another one. What do you think about their position to each other? And you all know what this is. Can't imagine doing it, even though this original one is very old. It is. The latest one, I didn't watch the latest one with the new Tommy. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
The one with Chris Hemsworth and what's her name?
Yeah, this is some little girl with dark hair. Not a girl, woman. I can't remember what it is. You haven't seen that one. Anyway, so what does this tell us? This as far as their positioning and their expressions.
Whatever they do, they take very seriously. They're both like basically even height. They're standing right next to each other. One's not behind the other one, so they're probably like partners, like very together.
Right. How about the way they're holding their guns? Will kind of said it. They're open to each other, right? Even though usually when things are positioned oppositely, people are like, if they're angled away from each, they're maybe sitting and they're talking like this, angled away from each other. That can very often show negative emotions. But here, I think it's just because it's so almost symmetrical. I think that opinion that they have the same height, their glasses are the same, their suits are exactly the same. The guns aren't, or maybe they are exactly the same. Yeah. So they're a set, right? They're partners. They work together. You get them both, right? So that's probably maybe scary to aliens who don't want two of them. I don't know, but yeah. But I think it also shows that they're open to each other because you guys, okay? Oh, yeah, you can. They're connected here, right? So they're not like separated and turned away from each other. They're next to each other, and even though they're slightly turned away from each other, they're like one whole fighting unit. Yeah, I think Joshua was talking about their suits are their uniform. It's their they're like soldiers, and that's their uniform. So good deal. All right, so let's talk about lighting and color, because color can do a lot of things. It can highlight important characters or objects in the frame, and we kind of already saw that in that She's the One, because we noticed that the two different people in it are sort of got different coloring. To make characters mysterious by shading the face and the body, which we also saw with the Jack Nicholson Shining image. And then it also helps reflect mental state and how people are feeling. So like if it's bright out, the lighting's bright, people are happy. If it's dark, they're disturbed. Strobe light effect might be that they're confused or lost maybe. So let's talk about these. So you kind of already mentioned this a little bit, Cameron. There's low key lighting, which is usually used only with the key light. And you guys remember our 3 light setup. We have a key light, a fill light, and a backlight. So usually low key lighting is with just the key and backlights. So you don't get that fill in. So you got a bright light here and a bright light here. And this side of your face might be not in the light. It makes a lot of contrast. That setup, a lot of shadows and silhouettes that signifies sort of mystery or adds tension. And horror films are the best example of that. So here's a good, I don't know what film this is from, I can't remember, but this is a Cliff, what's his name? You guys know. I can't remember his name, he's a famous actor. Anyway, I mean, it's a really interesting setup because the dark side is to the camera, right? So that even to me makes it feel like he's I don't know if he's the bad guy in this film. I can't remember what this one's from. I'll look it up. And then we have Cicely. Yeah, what's the actor's name though? He's like a super famous actor. Somebody Google it. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, so let's talk about high key lighting. And Cameron said this, rom-coms usually have high key lighting, and that's just, everything's really well lit. People's faces are really well lit. You know, so it's either the set inside is brightly lit or they have it lit correctly outside on a sunny day. Okay. All right, so we're gonna do a thing here. And this is an establishing shot. And I want you guys to sort of just tear it apart. Oh, no, it's not neither one of those. I think it's Cliff, actually. It's showing me. Don't breathe it in then. Oh, he's been in a bazillion. That's all right, I'll figure it out. We're gonna look at this shot. It's an establishing shot, so it's a very wide shot. And I want you to tell me, what does the Mise-en-scene tell us about the location? No. Oh. Ava's trying to help me, but it's just distracting me. Okay, here's the video. Oh, the picture. But before that, I want you to remember, you think about the lighting, think about the location, think about the coloring of it, and any props that you see. So here we go. So just jump in wherever you want. So what pops up? Anything? Yeah, it's a ship. Yeah, so what's the location, do you think? The actual physical location? Some of you might recognize what movie it's from, but don't talk about that yet. Yeah, an island port. What kind of island? What? It's tropical, right? Because we see palm fronds, and I mean, that's the best thing.
There's also a fort in the background, possible like Spanish import.
Yeah.
A lot of the color blue, which could give like a sense of calm.
Amy, can you say that again? I couldn't understand you.
There's a lot of the color blue in the scene, which could be like calm, serene, peace.
Yep. Yeah. So let's look at it. So here's some things. Yep. So just like Amy just said, lots of blue color. So it's a calm scene. There's not a big battle going on. People aren't fighting or anything. There's a lot of props that add to the nautical look at the theme. So in the ship, we can see there's like the flag, I guess, and then there's all these little things that are being little crates, little wooden crates that are being loaded on. The obviously it's the Caribbean because of the tropicalness, right? And we start thinking, there must be pirates, right? And then the lighting overall, it's really nice and bright out here, but back here, you know, we're at the sort of the forefront, and even the ships to some extent, it's just as natural, it's bright, it's dark, but it's not like, it's well lit, but not super bright. But it's tranquil, right? It's happy. Everybody seems to be calm. The colors are calm. Yeah. So if you didn't know, it's Pirates of the Caribbean, where I say Caribbean pirates. So here's another one from Pirates of the Caribbean. Let's talk about this one. What do you guys see here?
Dark, very low lighting, almost really hard to see a lot of the props. You can barely make out a sword behind the candle on the wall.
All right, so let someone else talk, Deja. All right. Ava says, low key, Clive Owen. Yeah, Clive, not Cliff or Clint. Thank you, Amy. Sorry, I was backtracking. Yeah, what else? What else you guys see? I mean, what's the feeling you get from this one?
For me at least, all of what I think is furniture that's all really dark on the right-hand side, it makes you want to lean over like it's too cramped, which is like all the people are looking at the dog. Like it's just all cramped and you're like squeezing over to the side to see.
All right. So we're going to talk more about this next week, but the lighting actually, because it's dark at the front and then it sort of gets lighter as it goes ahead, it totally focuses us on these guys trying to get the keys from this dog, right? Very on purpose, right? There's stuff over here on the side. You know, we see this, it's either a sword or it's a sword, and there's some other stuff, right? But while it's helpful, it helps us understand things, but it just really makes us focus. And of course, this was straight out of the ride, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Having earring issues here. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's do another one. These are all from Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay. So what do you see here? And think about color, light, props, how people are positioned.
Well, you can definitely tell that someone's trying to steal something by the way that they're positioned kind of away from each other. Like you have all the people that are trying to attack the one pirate, but
Right.
you also see all the gold. You see his costume, which kind of goes into showing he's a pirate. And it's very low-key lighting too.
Right. Freda says the lighting highlights the most important person in the scene. So it's this guy who's trying to defend all his gold. Look at his costume compared to some of the others, right? What does that us lead to think about this guy?
He's the captain. He's the rich captain. He's taken advantage of all of the crewmates, and now they're striking.
Exactly.
Is it? I don't know what it is. Mutiny? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Mutiny.
Say it again. Mutiny. Yeah. Mutiny. What about all the torches? What does that make you feel? What does that remind you of? The angry mob, you know, the Frankenstein mob, right? Some of them have pitchforks even and sticks, and this guy over here has got some kind of, looks like a big sledgehammer, right? Yeah, so very interesting stuff. Also, you see all these riches over here, and then over here it's like wet, slimy rocks, right? So there's definitely a division between this guy and everybody else, and they seem to be advancing on him, right? Yeah. Okay. And then if we think about costume and expression, what do you guys think about this one?
And they're all very tan.
They're all tan, camera says.
Probably spend a lot of time.
Yeah, they're. That's part of their costume. Yeah, that they're swarthy because they've been out in the sun a lot, and the water, the sea water's not very kind to skin. They're greasy.
Johnny Depp looks confused.
Who do you think looks confused?
Jack Sparrow.
So he looks confused? Yeah, maybe. I think he's looking down at this little guy. They all are. If you look their eyes, so I think they're. I don't know if the guy said something, but they're definitely looking at them. And then all these guys are not. So what does that say about these guys? What do you think's happening? Why they're acting like that? I'm sorry. They're subordinates, right? So these two guys, and I forget his character, but they're basically in charge. And then look at the difference between Jack Sparrow and I can't remember Orlando Bloom's character. It's Orlando Bloom, right? I think.
Bill Turner.
Yeah. Alfredo's like he's dressed really nice, and his hair is not perfect, but it's much neater and more kept. And his mustache and his facial hair is just a little bit more, a little less. And then you look at Johnny Depp's character, and he looks like what you would expect if someone was to have a photo of a pirate, right? He's got kind of dreadlocks, and he's kind of mangy facial hair, and he's got the sash and rings on every finger. Like they're both in charge, but they're two different kinds of guys, right? And then these guys over here, the subordinates, they all have sort of like a variety of, and even this guy right here, they're not fancy at all, right? So they don't really, you can tell that they're, besides the way that they're sort of looking like soldiers staring off without looking at anything that's going on, but also their clothing, their hair, their hats, right? Not fancy, not important guys. Okay, all right. So, hold on. Oh, I want to play this video. It's really short. It's about 5 minutes. There's a guy in it that explains this. I don't know. I think he's got. I don't remember where he's from, but anyway, this is a good. He talks about this example of Billy Elliot, which I don't know if you guys have seen Billy Elliot. Oh, it's a so good movie. But it's basically about this little Irish boy who's, I think it's set like in the late 70s, maybe the 80s, I don't remember. But his dad wants him to be a boxer, so he sends him to boxing lessons, but the kid hates it. He goes next door where they're having ballet class. And so it's a really good, it's a great movie. It's actually a true story. That's the other thing that's great about it. And this is Jamie, he's in a bunch of stuff now. He's really famous. Jamie, shoot. Someone Google Billy Elliot for me really quick. It's Jamie, oh gosh. You've seen it, he's been in a bazillion movies. It's a really easy word.
Jamie Bell.
Jamie Bell. Yes, thank you, Amy. Perfect. Yeah, Jamie Bell. He was in the series Turn, where he was the turncoat at the beginning of the. He's been in a lot of stuff. In any case, we're going to watch this. I haven't played a video in here yet, so bear with me. I'm going to. I'm going to mute my mic and then play it. I think that's what I need to do. So hang tight.
No, still no sound.
I think you have to have your mic unmuted in order to play the video and have us be able to hear it on Zoom. But I'm not sure. I've seen other professors do that.
All right, so I thought I was not muted, but I forgot to click a little box when I shared this screen. So I think it should work now. So I'm going to give it a shot.
What is mise-en-scene? Why is it important? Why should we do it? What is it? I've said the same thing twice there. Let's go. Mise-en-scene, set design, set production, production design, yada yada yada. Crucial, forgotten. That's what today's about. Independent filmmakers always forget this role, this job. This is the difference between great films and terrible films. It honestly makes that much difference. You have bad set design, your film's gonna look naff. Imagine if Star Wars was shot in an office. You have to get the audience into the world that you're trying to create. To get them there, you have to bring that world to them. Mise-en-scene actually means placing on stage. Very simple, that's what it is. If your film is set in a different place, a different era, or wherever it's set, to be honest, you need to assert that position with your set design, with your production, your mise-en-scene. Sound effects are also a big player in that, but we're not talking about that today. Today's about set design. And that's also what I've tried to do in my new place in London. I've tried really hard to make this place suitable for vlogging. I know it sounds silly, but I'm getting there one stage at a time. Now, mise-en-scene goes further than just the set design. It goes into costume and characters and colour and light and shade and all these things that make up the scene, basically. Now, I want to pick out two different shots from Billy Elliot to illustrate my point here. The first one, it tells you everything you need to know in this one shot. You're in a sports hall to begin with. So you have that horrible floor with the multi-sport lines and you know that it's not dedicated for ballet. You know instantly that he is in a situation where they're doing ballet in a local sports centre or his school or something like that. But then on top of that, you've got all the girls behind him in their nice little white dresses. That immediately tells you that this is a female dominated sport, and that comes into mise-en-scene by what you include around your subject, how you place them, how you set up the scene to tell the character story, because mise-en-scene is about getting you into the world and telling you about your character. In this situation, Billy Elliot is just in this normal sports gear. Costume's a slightly different thing, but it all plays a part. But in the background, you've got this grated iron grid. That does more than just a normal hall. That gives you that sense of entrapment, and throughout the rest of the film, you've got cages, metal grids everywhere when you're dealing with mining strikes of the Maggie Thatcher time. you've got that sense of everything here that you might need. You've got the colors, you've got the genders, you've got the set. Everything about the shot tells you that Billy Elliot doing ballet is not in the right place. Cut to when Billy Elliot is getting interviewed for the English Ballet School, I think it is. Suddenly, not only is the set design different, but the framing's different. The framing's very polished, very centralized. Here you have polished floors, you have minimal things to distract you in the background. You have pristine white and you have absolutely zero to draw your eye away other than Billy Elliot and his dad in the middle. This just draws attention to how out of place they look. What you've got here is both set designs telling you that Billy Elliot doesn't fit into either. The whole point of this film is Billy Elliot's trying to figure out who he is, and the two different set designs tell you the same thing in two very different ways. One is him trying to express himself in a situation where he's not really meant to, and the other one tells you in the places that it would normally be acceptable, he doesn't fit in. It's so simple, and it tells you that mise-en-scene doesn't need to be complicated. It can be very elegant. Just choosing the right situation, choosing the right framing as well, helps add to that. Also, cutting to the boat that rocked, I love this film. This mise-en-scene here, again tells you lots that you need to know, but it helps set the era. You've got a Simon Art and Garfunkel poster in the background. You know that this is being set in a time of vintage music by the Vinyls, and you've got the beer to tell you a bit more about the character, not to mention the costume and the haircuts. Mise-en-scene is also a way of transporting your audience to a different time. Think about all these things when you're coming up with your ideas. Think about how mise-en-scene tells you about the character, about the place. That's my tip for today, basically. Think about your mise-en-scene.
All right, so I think that shows it's a great example of how basically the same thing. Oh, sorry, hold on, let me get rid of this. The same sort of situation can be demonstrated in two different ways. You know, Billy Elliot is Irish and comes from this mining town, and his dad is miner, his brother's a miner, I think they're miners, I can't remember. And there's striking going on, and it's really full of strife. And so they're rough and tumble guys, but Billy wants to dance. And he actually ended up going on to be a professional ballet. I don't know what they call boys. I don't know if they call them ballerinas, but sorry. All right. Okay, so I'm going to share, I'm sorry. This mask makes my throat so dry. I'm going to leave it off for just a minute here. The two boys in here are far away from me. So I'm going to share I'm going to close that. Hold on. I had too many things open on my screen. Actually, oh, I have one more thing I wanted to do with you guys. I forgot. So let me share this again. Where is my, there it is. So hang tight here. Dang it. Oh, I keep clicking that instead of the share button. I almost cut you guys off again. So here's a couple of scenes I'm going to show you, and I want you to guys again to talk about them. This is basically what you're going to do for your assignment that I'm going to assign you today. So I want you to look at these two scenes, and we're going to look at them one at a time, or just keep doing what we've been doing and just pop up either on your microphone or in the chat. Again, I want you to think about how it makes you feel. I want you to think about the stuff that's in the scene, who is the actors, what they're wearing, the shot, angles, how things are framed, colored, lit, all those things we've been talking about. So hopefully you guys know what this is from. If you don't, this needs to be on our movie night. It's Ferris Bueller, right? And if you've watched Ferris Bueller, Ferris is the guy in the car right here. And this is his friend who is, I can't remember his name. It's like Spencer or something like that.
Cameron.
I'm sorry, say it.
Cameron.
What?
Cameron.
Cameron. Yes, it's Cameron. Yeah, Cameron. Thank you. Well, Cameron's really full of anxiety. He's super rich. His dad's just really demanding and not very nice. And they've, skipped out of school for that day. And Ferris decides to take Cameron's prized, I don't remember what kind of car it was, but it's like a really expensive car for a joyride. So what do you see in this? What sort of talks to you about the meaning of this? and the stuff that's in the scene and how he's positioned and all this stuff.
Side is temptation, and he has to leave and walk through that door to
Right.
fun, and it's calling to him.
Yeah. Ferrari, thank you. What else?
Posture.
Yeah, what about his posture?
I think he's kind of slouched and like reluctant.
Reluctant. I think that's a great word. He's like, he sees Ferris out there in the car. He's kind of pissed at his dad anyway. And like Will says, he's sort of standing there weighing what he should do, but being slightly reluctant. And then the way his shirt is, like, I think he's got like a hat or something in his back pocket, or no, it was I think it's a hanky or something, because was also sick that day. He really said he was sick. And it's sort of rumpled, right, which also gives us indication that he's just sort of a mess, right? What about the way everything is situated here? I mean, Will said a little bit about it.
The blinds are closed, so it's you're creating a focus of like a tunnel,
Exactly. You're not really looking to the right or to the left. You just see another really nice car here, which also is a clue that his dad's really rich, right? He's got all these nice cars. He's got a garage that has glass doors and drapes. I mean, and polished concrete, right?
Keeping him closed to, like, he doesn't want to see the outside world,
Yeah.
It's a prison. It's keeping you in, even though it's all glass. You can't see out.
Right. What about Ferris? What is Ferris being in the car out there? Oh, I think Ava said a good point. The red, right? Cameron's, I think it's a hockey jersey, is red. Because I think this takes place in Detroit, sort of be the Red Wings, the hockey team. And the car's red, right? So it's sort of like, maybe this is as gutsy as he can be, but he's getting pulled out to this other red. And then Ferris, what is Ferris doing?
For me at least, the front of the car isn't visible, so we don't know where Ferris is going to take the car. We don't know what he's going to do with it.
Right, he drives out. There's no lead room. Remember that the concept of lead room? Yeah, it's unknown, right? So if Cameron does walk through the door, he's walking into the unknown. He's taking a big risk, and he's not a risk taker. Yeah, good. Those are all good. All right, let's try another one. You all know this one. It's not really, I mean, it is a movie. It doesn't have actors, but it still has characters. What do you see in this? We're talking about color, lighting, the positions of the characters, maybe their expressions. Okay, so Michaela says there's a spotlight on the door. So what does that mean? That the door is lit up. wondering, I don't know when this shot was from in the movie. So I don't know if this is before they actually first went in it, or if this was, this must be the first one, because she comes out with them, right? They don't go back. Yeah. No, Dylan thinks it's the end. Oh, okay. Okay, you're right, because the doors looks like it's been fractured. Okay, good. See, now that's important because there's fractures in it. And I think it's where they put the door back together. So what do you think their expressions say in light of that we know it's after he put the door back together? I think Sully is sad. But also, yeah, Mike helped him, so he's happy. I think he's sort of resigned. Sully is, to the fact that he's gonna say goodbye to Boo, right? And you guys might remember I showed it in 315. I think I've shown it for a couple of years now, at least a year. That Pixar in a Box about storytelling, and how the guy who made Monsters Inc., I think the director, I don't remember which of it's Pete Docter, didn't know what it was supposed to be about, and he realized that it was about basically Sully becoming a father figure to Boo, because that's what was going on in his life. So, you can imagine how sad he feels about having to sort of cut ties with this little girl, even though he's, I think, also hopeful that she'll have a really good future, and that she won't be bothered anymore, that people won't be scaring her anymore because they changed the company, all these things, right? And I think Mike is happy that he was a good friend, right? Yeah, so we have some color stuff going on. So you can see that there's kind of pinky and orange flowers, but also some kind of purple tones, and that sort of goes with Sully's colors. So there's sort of a connection between him and that door, and probably meaning, him and Boo, who's inside. Yeah. And then, of course, we don't see the stuff in the background because it's not really important. We can tell it's still in the sense of the door factory or whatever. But yeah, so that's good. Okay, now we're done. So I'm gonna just share. I like seeing this. It says there's 99 plus chat entries, so that means you guys are really participating. So I'd like that. Okay. So now I'm just going to go back over here. So the assignment for this week is the Mise-en-scene worksheet, and I got to change the spelling. Screwed it up. Unfortunately, it's not ready. I had this worksheet, and I need to update some of the films in it. It's basically doing what we've been doing in class. This worksheet's going to have 10, it's going to be a fillable PDF for you guys. So all you have to do is download it, fill it, save it, and upload it to the assignment link. But it's going to have 10 different films. I want you to pick 6 of them. You don't have to do all 10. And actually, I might even just do 5. I think I'll do 5. And so you can do any 5 that you want to do. I'm trying to do a variety of films. I do want you to use the fillable PDF and save it. You got to download it, save it to your hard drive, or download it. And then don't open it up in the browser and fill it out, because you remember that won't save your form if you do that. You have to download it and then fill it out, but it has to be typed. I don't want anything handwritten. It's just too hard to read them. If you have problem, you all should have access to Adobe Acrobat Reader, which will work with this form that I'm going to put up there. So all you have to do is submit the completed worksheet. As with my other classes, there's the same naming convention as in 303 and 315, your last name underscore and then the assignment number. And that is it. So it is due on next Wednesday night, okay? Any questions about anything that we